She can miss you and still not crave you. She can feel emotionally bonded and still feel no physical pull. And this is the truth most people never name. Love and desire are governed by different psychological systems in the female mind. One is built on attachment. The other is built on attraction dynamics. One seeks security. The other seeks intensity. And when you mistake one for the other, relationships slowly become emotionally stable, but sexually silent. Listen till the end, because once you understand this difference, you'll stop trying to be loved and start understanding how desire actually survives. Love in female psychology is rooted in attachment security. Desire is rooted in tension and emotional stimulation. These two systems overlap, but they do not function the same way. Love is built through consistency, emotional availability, protection, shared vulnerability, familiarity. Desire is built through anticipation, emotional contrast, mystery, subtle uncertainty, perceived value. Love activates oxytocin, the bonding hormone. Desire activates dopamine, the pursuit hormone. Oxytocin makes her feel safe. Dopamine makes her feel drawn. Safety creates comfort. Dopamine creates hunger. And hunger cannot survive inside constant comfort. This is why long-term relationships often experience a paradox. The more emotionally safe she feels, the more stable the relationship becomes. But stability reduces psychological novelty, and novelty is fuel for desire. When everything becomes predictable, texts, tone, behavior, reactions, the brain shifts from anticipation mode to regulation mode. Regulation mode is calm. Erotic energy is not calm. Erotic energy requires a slight sense of movement, not chaos, not instability, but movement. Desire needs space to stretch. Love collapses distance. Desire needs mystery. Love removes mystery. Love says, I know you. Desire says, I'm still discovering you. When discovery ends, intensity softens. And this is the silent shift most couples don't notice. She doesn't stop loving you. She stops feeling pulled. Because emotional closeness alone does not stimulate attraction circuits. In fact, too much emotional predictability can deactivate them. This is why being too available can feel safe but not exciting. The female nervous system regulates around safety, but desire spikes when there is emotional contrast. Contrast might mean you are grounded but not dependent. You care but you do not chase. You are present but not over-explaining. You listen but do not over-validate. Desire requires subtle polarity. Polarity disappears when a man becomes emotionally neutral and fully predictable. This is not about games. It is about energy dynamics. Love seeks harmony. Desire thrives in tension. Not toxic tension, but dynamic tension. A relationship without tension becomes companionship. Companionship is beautiful, but companionship is not automatically erotic. And this is the first psychological divide between love and desire. A woman can emotionally love a man even when sexual desire declines, because love fulfills emotional needs. Desire fulfills psychological stimulation. These are separate categories of need. Love satisfies belonging, security, emotional validation, shared history, stability. Desire satisfies excitement, fantasy, emotional elevation, novelty, biological arousal. Love is rooted in attachment memory. Desire is rooted in present moment stimulation. Attachment memory is powerful. It holds shared experiences, shared pain, shared growth. Desire does not operate from memory. It operates from perception. How she perceives you now determines attraction. How she remembers you determines love. You can be remembered as good, but perceived as flat, and perception drives attraction. If she perceives you as emotionally reactive, needing reassurance, overinvested, predictable in behavior, lacking internal direction, her attachment may remain, but her desire circuitry quiets, because attraction requires perceived strength, autonomy, and internal stability. Female desire is responsive to emotional hierarchy, not dominance, hierarchy of groundedness. If she senses that you emotionally depend on her validation, the polarity collapses. Love may still exist, but desire needs asymmetry, not imbalance, but asymmetry. She must feel that you are internally stable without needing her to regulate you. When she becomes your emotional center, desire decreases, because erotic polarity requires two whole systems interacting, not one system leaning. This is why over-pursuit kills desire faster than conflict does. Conflict creates emotional spikes. Over-pursuit creates emotional flattening. Desire survives in emotional peaks. It suffocates in constant emotional smoothing. This is also why women sometimes feel confused. They say, "I love him. I just don't feel attracted anymore." What they mean is, "I feel emotionally bonded, but I don't feel psychological pull." Bonding is slow. Pull is immediate. Bonding is historical. Pull is energetic. You cannot negotiate pull. You must generate it. And pull requires tension, not drama, not manipulation, but internal strength. Desire lives in perception of depth. Love lives in memory of care. When depth fades into comfort, desire fades into familiarity. And familiarity rarely triggers hunger. Here is the mature understanding. Love and desire are not enemies, but they must be balanced intentionally. To sustain both, a relationship needs emotional safety for love, psychological autonomy for desire. If a man becomes emotionally passive to maintain harmony, desire fades. If he becomes emotionally cold to maintain tension, love fades. The balance lies in grounded presence. Grounded presence means you are emotionally available, but not emotionally dependent. You are kind, but not approval-seeking. You are steady, but not predictable in energy. You have internal direction, which creates perceived depth. Depth creates intrigue. Intrigue creates anticipation. Anticipation fuels dopamine. Dopamine fuels desire. Meanwhile, emotional reliability fuels oxytocin. Oxytocin fuels love. The mistake most men make is trying to increase love to revive desire. But desire does not respond to more reassurance. It responds to renewed perception. She must feel that you are evolving, not static. She must feel that you are internally expansive, not emotionally anchored to her reactions. Desire grows when she senses strength without arrogance, mystery without distance, confidence without dominance, emotional control without suppression. When you become emotionally reactive, desire drops. When you become emotionally numb, love drops. The balance is regulated masculinity, calm, directed, independent. That psychological positioning restores polarity, and polarity restores desire. The final truth is this: love wants closeness. Desire wants space within closeness. Without space, desire suffocates. Without closeness, love dissolves. Sustainable attraction requires both. Most relationships lose desire not because love disappears, but because polarity dissolves into predictability. And predictability slowly becomes invisibility. She stops seeing you as an energy and starts seeing you as environment. Environment is stable, but environment is not erotic. To revive desire, you do not create chaos. You rebuild depth. Depth reintroduces mystery. Mystery reactivates perception. Perception reactivates desire. And desire can live beside love if tension is allowed to breathe. Love feels safe. Desire feels exposing. For many women, love is emotionally protective. Desire is psychologically vulnerable. Love says, I am valued. Desire says, I am exposed. When a woman loves someone, she feels secure in the bond. But when she desires someone, she feels open, reactive, emotionally affected. Desire increases sensitivity. It lowers emotional armor, and that can feel dangerous. This is why sometimes, especially in long-term relationships, desire quietly fades when emotional safety is high but emotional intensity is low. Not because she doesn't care, but because desire requires surrender. And surrender requires trust not only in you, but in herself. Here is what most people miss. Love can exist without surrender. Desire cannot. Desire requires letting go of control, allowing emotional pull, feeling affected, feeling slightly overwhelmed. And not everyone feels comfortable being overwhelmed, especially if she has past emotional wounds. She fears abandonment. She fears losing control. She associates intensity with instability. In those cases, love becomes the safer option. Love is structured. Desire is destabilizing. And the nervous system always chooses regulation over destabilization. If desire feels too intense, the system dampens it. Not consciously, subconsciously. This is why a woman can unconsciously reduce attraction toward a partner who feels too important. If her desire feels overwhelming, her psyche may protect her by lowering it. Because intensity equals risk. This is also why attraction sometimes spikes toward emotionally unavailable men. Not because unavailability is healthy, but because distance reduces vulnerability. Distance feels safer than surrender. When a man is too emotionally dependent, she feels responsible. Responsibility reduces polarity. When a man is too emotionally detached, she feels unsafe. Unsafe reduces attachment. The sweet spot is this: she must feel emotionally safe, but not emotionally in control of you. If she feels she controls your emotional state, desire collapses. Because polarity collapses, desire needs perceived strength, not domination, strength. Strength is emotional regulation. When she senses that you are internally stable, even if she pulls away, even if she tests, even if she fluctuates, her nervous system relaxes. And when her nervous system relaxes, surrender becomes possible. And when surrender becomes possible, desire returns. Because desire is not just attraction. It is trust in losing control safely. Love builds attachment, but desire builds surrender. And surrender only happens when she feels safe, and she feels that you are stronger than the moment. Not louder, not aggressive, stronger in nervous system regulation. That is the final psychological difference. Love says, I trust you won't leave. Desire says, I trust one can let go. And letting go is far more vulnerable than staying. Love keeps the bond alive. Desire keeps the energy alive. You can have one without the other. But a relationship only feels complete when both exist together. When you understand the psychological difference between attachment and attraction, you stop chasing validation. You stop overgiving. You stop confusing comfort with chemistry. And you begin rebuilding the internal depth that keeps both love and desire breathing. If this video shifted your understanding even slightly, subscribe to Voxlore Audio, because this series is not about surface-level advice. It is about decoding the psychological architecture beneath female desire. And once you understand the architecture, you stop reacting emotionally. You start moving intentionally. And that changes everything.